than the Bacchus rituals of ancient Rome. The Bacchus rituals entailed the women were allowed in the church with the priests. It was primarily all women. And they would sing and allow spirits to come in them and start dancing. It was a Bacchus ritual every Sunday. They would sing to the god Bacchus. Bacchus. And then, through time, it became a custom. And when these women were introduced to spirits, at a certain time, they would let men in. At a certain time, after this ritual of singing under the Roman Empire, and there's children present. So I can't go into what happens once they let the men in. These are the practices in modern day religion. But it's a little subtle now, but it's the same spirits. Now I can go on and on and on, but I want to get straight to it. Huh? Oh, believe it or not, you can Google that. You can Google Bacchus rituals with women. Now there's more. Now the Most High says, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. How did Christ deal with the Sabbath? Let's go to Matthew, the 12th chapter. Matthew 12. And let's start at the first verse.
Matthew chapter 12, verse 1. At that time Yeshua went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were an hungry, and began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat.
So, now you remember the Old Testament, someone was grabbing sticks. And what happened to him? You got the Pharisees during Christ's time, which were the executioners of the law. And you had the Pharisees and scribes and the Sadducees. They would have their phylacteries, so that if anyone broke a law, they would just pull the book out and say, this is the law you're breaking here. And they would execute the judgment. Matthew 12 says that Christ went through the corn. Now, he was working all night, him and his disciples. It was corn there. You had to get some corn to eat. Right? Now, he's not cooking the corn, but he's eating it straight off. He's shucking it and eating it straight off the cob. Read.
Verse 2. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day.
Okay, he says, now you're breaking the law according to Moses. Now, is what the Pharisees saying, is that true? Yes. According to the law, you're supposed to make sure you have that corn and all that done before the Sabbath. So now they're going to pull the law out on Christ. Let's see how Christ handles this.
Verse 3.
Now, mind you, Christians pull this out to say that Sabbath is done away with. But no. Christ gives the understanding of this. Read.
Verse 3. But he said unto them, Have ye not read what David did when he was an hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of the Most High, and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests.
He said, do you remember, since you're holding the law, it's in your law that David went into the temple and took the showbread that only the priest should eat. Why? Because David needed the nourishment. If David died, where would Christ be? So David was greater than the temple. Him and his men needed the nourishment so that they can fight a war to take down for the Most High. Without that nourishment, David would have died. So he's saying, listen, I've been working. The same as David. If he can go in and take the showbread and yet you uphold him as righteous, then you can respect the fact that me and my disciples are eating for nourishment. Read.
Verse 5. Or have ye not read in the law, how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless?
So he's saying, are you trying to kill the priests? They work every Sabbath. They have to take the animals, do the sacrifice, sprinkling of the blood. They have to make sure all the ornaments are done and clean. They work every Saturday, and you're not in front of them. Right? Read.
Verse 6. But I say unto you, that in this place is one greater than the temple.
He says, listen, in this place, you're looking at someone that's greater than the temple. Read.
Verse 7. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy, and not sacrifice.
He said, if y'all understood this, you would be able to come under my mercy and not sacrifice. Why? Because the sacrifice is about to be done away with. So you need to come under Christ, because the sacrifice is not going to be able to save you. Read.
Ye would not have condemned the guiltless.
You will not have condemned the guiltless. How can you come against someone that's here to die for you? I need nourishment. My disciples need nourishment. Christ showed grace on the Sabbath. He exercised grace on purpose. He could have waited, but he wanted to show them something. Read.
Verse 8.
This is what he wanted to show them.
For the Son of Man is Lord, even on the Sabbath day.
He's Lord even of or on the Sabbath day. He can exercise grace within the Sabbath as long as it's good. He's going to prove that. It's not, the Most High never said in the Old Testament that you cannot do good on the Sabbath. David did what he was supposed to do because the Most High commanded him to do it. Read.
Verse 10.
I want you to get no, finish going. There's more.
Verse 9. And when he was departed thence, he went into their synagogue.
Then he went into the synagogue where they worship. Read.
Verse 10. And behold, there was a man which had his hand withered, and they asked him, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days? That they might accuse him.
So they came to him and said, listen, is it lawful to heal? They knew he had the power to heal, so he must have been someone great. Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? They asked him. What did Yeshua do? Read.
Verse 11. And he said unto them, What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it out?
And Christ knew the things they did. That's why he mentioned these things. He knew the things they did. This guy is going to try to come and tell Christ what to do when he just probably got his donkey or something out of a ditch, or his ox out of a ditch, so that his money could produce during the week. Like, man, you was just working yourself. Read.
Verse 12. How much then is a man better than a sheep?
Is a man better than a sheep? So if I'm following the laws of charity and grace and love and giving to my brother and helping my brother, then I can do this on the Sabbath. I'm still fulfilling the Sabbath. I'm not doing anything for myself. You see the difference here? I'm not doing anything for myself. I'm doing this to serve the people. Is our people in the ditch? Is our people in bad shape? Yes. So should I be locked up in a room someplace on the Sabbath, or come out to tell my people what's going on? And that's the example we use, because I always say it all the time. We have some brothers in Philadelphia who said that you're not supposed to do anything on the Sabbath, and was like, what you doing out here speaking on the Sabbath? I'm like, what are you doing out here looking at me speaking on the Sabbath? That's simple. Right? So this is what they do to try to put you in bonds. The Sabbath wasn't made to make you a prisoner to it. You understand? You can do well and good on the Sabbath. You're not a prisoner to it. But they'll pull this out, Christians per se, and try to use this as an excuse not to follow the Sabbath. It didn't say that. You're not even exercising the grace of the Sabbath. You're just breaking it and ignoring it altogether. Christ didn't do that. A matter of fact, where did he go on the Sabbath? Into the synagogue. That's where they was gathering. Right? Read.
Verse 13. Verse 12. How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore, it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. Then saith he to the man, Stretch forth thy hand. And he stretched it forth, and it was restored whole, like as the other. And the Pharisees went out, and they held a council against him, how they might destroy him.
And from that day forward, they held a council on how they must kill him. Why? Because he exercised grace and power on the Sabbath day. If anything, Christians should acknowledge the Sabbath day just for that. He made a stand on the Sabbath day. And you're going to ignore the Sabbath day? He showed that you can do grace, you can do good, you can sing, you can come together on the Sabbath. These were Israelites in the synagogue. These were all Israelites in the synagogue. Someone asked, were these Israelites or were they Gentiles? But I'll tell you this. A high sect of the Pharisees were Idumeans. A large number of the Pharisees were Idumeans also under Herod. When you look at what happened under Antipas,